Welcome to Sage Sisters. We are sisters, besties, moms, and co-founders having a fun catch-up on parenting and life. Hi, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kate. We're so excited. This is our very first inaugural podcast. Much discussion, and Ann and I talk every single day about God knows what. For those of you with sisters, you know, mostly it's like we're not even talking. We're just existing while breathing heavily into the phone.
I love those memes where it's like you're just like taking out the trash and you just have the phone on you and I'm sitting there as well on the phone.
Yeah. It's just, I only hang up when your kids are so annoying in the background. I go, well, gotta go.
Yeah. Which is fairly often.
But now we can turn it into fake work here, which is kind of nice.
I love it.
So we'll pretend that this is all for the business, but really for me, I'm just excited to have an hour to shoot the shit with you.
I agree. It's like blocking it off. Obviously, this is work hours. My kids are at school and other places, but it still makes me feel like, you know, my husband, Phil, is giving me like you're podcasting. Like it's a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, I'm
totally. We got to ride that wave as long as it lasts until they listen to it and they're like, yeah, never mind.
That's right.
So this being our first one, we're going to play around with the format a little bit, but we're going to try stealing from some of our favorite podcasts, which have a format that kind of share a high-low each of the week. So we can just kind of freeform start talking. One of us will pick a topic each week. This week, Anne's going to go. Next week, I'll go. So we'll kind of surprise each other with what we want to talk about and then chat about that for as long as we feel like it takes. And then we'll end it with something we're obsessed with this week and then wrap it up. So our goal is to keep these, 45 minutes or less. We'll see. You and I can yap for hours. So we'll see. Yeah.
We can really get going on a tangent.
I'm worried about us going long, not short. Let's just say. All right. Well, let's kick it off. Ann, what's your high of the week?
My high of the week, I should set the tone just a little bit, but my son plays, he's 7 years old. His name is Ace. I have a 7-year-old, I have a 6-year-old little girl, and then I have another 2.5-year-old little girl. And so my son, Ace, is really heavily into sports, as you know. And he's been playing baseball as one of his top sports. And over the summer, he made this all-star team. That's not crazy. I know when you say that at 7, people kind of roll their eyes, but it was more of like a local all-star team. We were really proud of him. And it ended up being one of those where we kind of regretted it because he played the bench. The coach didn't know him. And he was getting really down on himself. He was like, I suck at baseball. And I was like, you don't suck. Like, you're on this great team. You're just not playing a ton. And they just didn't really like ever give him the ability to show what he can do in the game. And as his mom, of course, I'm like, he's great. Who knows how he stacked up against the rest of the kids. But he just was kind of down on himself. So Phil and I were like, did we make a mistake? Anyways, fast forward, we're in fall season. We play the head coach of the All-Stars team last night. They're the number 1 team in the league for 7-year-olds. Yes, I'm talking about it seriously. Anyways, he crushed it. He played so good. He got like the first 3 outs in the inning. Inning 1, they held him. He hit great last night. He got so many outs. He's really like better in the field than even hitting, but he just played so good. And I was almost in tears on the sideline. I was laughing at myself with how like I was internalizing it so I didn't look like such a nutball, but I was just like so proud of him.
Not you getting misty-eyed now about thinking about it, but
it was such a high. And my husband, obviously, he and I are the ones that would talk about like the regret of this all-star team like all summer. So he and I went out to Shake Shack afterwards. I had a glass of rosé and a beer. We were, giving the kids fries and lemonade and whatever. We were celebrating in a big way. And I still felt on a high this morning when I woke up. It was like, I'm such a nerd, but it was just so cute.
Good job, Ace, man. I'm happy for him too.
I know. So he crushed it.
Yes.
So that was
okay. I'm nervous to say my high after your high because I feel like it's going to really brand us as 2 nutballs here. Yeah. I would like to first do some caveating, which is one of my like deep held beliefs is that people are going too nuts on sports too soon.
100%.
And everyone needs to chill out. So I think we should actually like do a whole episode at some point on kids sports, do less.
I agree.
And not to make this about myself, but I did play
But here we
college basketball, D1, and very ever so briefly professionally.
We're 3 minutes in. You were able to get that humble brag in. Good for you.
All I'm saying is I really think like I've seen so many kids burn out, and
Sure.
we're starting them too young, and like we got to let them play all the sports and like chill out and not get too intense with it till middle school. They're all going to fry out, I promise you. But
I agree.
I also have a sports high.
Yeah.
So take all of what I just said with a grain of salt, because I am coaching my kids' basketball teams, which I have wanted to do since I knew I was pregnant. Like, I am a nerd and I love the sport, and I was so excited to teach it to them. And candidly, it's been like a little bit frustrating because they're not very good and their teams are terrible. And I don't know. I think maybe I just forget like what it's like to coach. I'm coaching a second grade girls basketball team. Most of whom are like playing for the first time.
Yeah, that age.
And it's like, there's just also like, I can't tell if they're really into it. You know, half of them are like staring at the ceiling. And I'm like, who are you guarding? You know, like the amount of times I say, hey, so-and-so, who are you guarding? You know, like trying to keep it light. But internally, I'm like, who are you guarding?
Honestly, coaching at this age is like more about patience. And you and I have never been cut out to be like kindergarten, first grade teachers. Like, it's just not who we are. So
my honest to God hell is if I come back as a preschool teacher. Like, that's how I know I've really effed up this life.
We appreciate their work. I couldn't love them more, but I could never do it.
Yeah. I do genuinely love coaching, and I don't mind losing, even though I'm super competitive. Like, none of that carries over to like, oh, my team has to win.
Right.
And I think I have a fair amount of patience at this age. We'll see. Ask the parents.
Yeah.
But last night, my little second grade girls basketball team, the Aces, showed such improvement over the previous week. I was on a high of we lost, by the way. So I think this helps my case. We lost by a basket, but we have been really bad. And not just that, like half the girls, I just like couldn't really get them excited about basketball, no matter how many fun things I did. I just like never saw that much interest. Probably their parents signed them up and they never wanted to be there in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
But last night we got them stealing it. And one of my friends who coaches with me, one of the dads of the other girls, he did this drill where we were like in practice, like working on stealing and like being like a swarm of bees. And like, we were just trying all this like stuff.
The analogies do work. They do work.
It actually worked. Everyone was in on it. Everyone was playing defense harder than I've ever seen. Like we just were trying.
Yeah, that's all you want.
And, you know, we had committed early in the season to like teach them positions and how to spread out, because a lot of the other teams don't try to teach that. And then it's like bunch ball.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we had to like go through the learning curve of like, it was worse before it got better, but like we're starting to emerge on the other end of like some decent spacing. And like, I keep yelling spread out and bounce pass, but it's like, they're actually bounce passing it to each other. Anyways, I was euphoric. And here's the real clincher that I was like even thinking about this morning. On the drive home last night, my daughter Grace, who is 8, goes, Mom, tonight I finally realized why you love basketball.
Oh, wow. That's a big one.
Like, she saw that she got competitive. We were competing.
Yeah.
And she, you know, she was doing great. And I don't know, just like sharing something that you love and then seeing your kid go, I get it. And you kind of see that little, like, I love it too now. Maybe I'm putting words in her mouth. Might be a step before that.
She loved it in the moment.
But I think she was very competitive in the moment, and she like had fun, and she was like, this was the best game, and I see why you love it. And I was just like, oh, like what a high. What a high.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. And like,
I love that for
like,
her. Yeah.
I know. But it didn't matter. It was just like to share your passion. I just was really touched.
Yeah. I know. I I think coaching, I'm going to coach basketball this season too. I'm excited. You've inspired me. I think it's so cool to be the coach. I think it's so cute. They see you in that way. Like, I think the kids like it. However, my kids don't listen to me as much, so I'm a little worried that, like, if they had somebody else, maybe they would listen more. But I think it's cool. I'm glad you had that experience with her.
I think it can cut both ways. I'm curious with my son who's in kindergarten, Calvin. He's such a mama's boy. When I coach his team, he just wants to cuddle.
Yeah, he'll be.
And I'm a
hugging your
little bit
leg.
like, yeah. I'm not sure it's gonna work for him quite the same as I feel like it's actually like working for Grace. But
Yeah.
he's young. We'll give it some time and see. But if it's not working, I'll happily step aside.
Yeah, it's like do it for a season or two. That's what I'm gonna do. And I've been already teaching Lola, my 6-year-old, soccer, and it's, she's a different breed. She's a little spicy. I love her, but she kind of waves her hand and walks.
A little spicy is how we're categorizing her.
She waves her hand. In the future, that will be a middle finger. Goes to the side and is like, "I'm done." I'm like, "Well, you got to get out there."
Okay, when you were growing up, though, you were
She's me.
You were Lola.
Yeah.
She is spicy at a level 100 out of 100.
I'm like really kind of proud of her sometimes, even though it's against me sometimes. Like, we're really trying to teach her to lead with kindness is what we're saying, like, aka not be a bitch. But she's really sweet. She's got a sweet soul. She really does. Like, she's the most helpful around the house. She's a unique personality, but she can be spicy. So we're trying to mold that into positivity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
it's like
reap what you sow. She is me as a child for sure.
She'll be a CEO or a criminal. I don't know which one, but
yeah,
it'll break one way or the other.
Yeah.
You turned out all right, though. She'll be fine.
Well, on my wedding day, the parents said in the speech, I even think, which was a little bit much, they were like, "We're so glad you made it. We didn't know." What do you mean? What didn't you know? Like,
yeah.
So,
I mean, teenage years, who knows what's coming for us? But of all of our kids, Lola is the one who scares me the most right now.
Yeah,
that could change. But thinking of her at 14, 15, like, makes me shudder. So
we got another tangent, but we got her into Girl Scouts because she wanted to do it. But I was just trying, last night was the first meeting and it was all about being kind and caring. And I thought, well, this is what she needs. This is.
Yeah, totally. All right. What is your low?
My low is a little bit basic bitch, but it is what it is. I am obsessed with fall now. Like, I became a mom. I moved to the suburbs and I love fall. It's like, okay, yeah, here we are. And I go to Starbucks for, I like
in your ugly
coffee shops, but I do go to Starbucks still and get my pumpkin latte. And yeah, I haven't gotten the Ugg boots out. I'm not that basic yet, but I will be.
Give it time.
Bring in the tennis skirt. You got me. The tennis skirt with the pumpkin latte. But we have gone from, I live outside of Nashville. We have gone from 90 degrees straight into like 30 degrees. Like, I'm so frustrated. It's like fall, like the leaves are still green/brown because they haven't even had a chance to turn. And it's almost Halloween. It's frustrating me. So I just want to like wear a sweatshirt, light jacket, with some yoga pants and call it a day. And we now are like layering up again. So it'll probably go back and forth a little bit, but my low is that I can't have this fall weather where I live right now. It's not allowing me to, and it's making me sad.
What is your favorite autumnal little, I don't know, treat, or like what's the thing about it that makes you the most excited?
About the weather or just fall?
Fall. Autumnal means fall.
Yeah, thanks. Didn't know that. Thank you for. I was trying to use context clues. It wasn't working for me in that sense. I love just a little bit cooler weather, like a light jacket, a warm coffee, being outside where it's not blazing hot. And like, I enjoy working out outside. We have a gym we go to, but like when it's that perfect weather, when you can just like go for a run or be outside working out, I just love it. There's something a crisp day, not too cold, not too hot. I'm now like, Miss Congeniality, when it's like, what's your favorite date? like January, whatever she said. That's how I feel like I'm talking right now.
Totally. I do feel like, yeah, it is magical. I feel that too.
Yeah. I've noticed it as I gotten older. I've loved it more, but I also think it's because we moved from LA, which we didn't really have seasons, back to Nashville, and there's something charming about it. I really enjoy the seasons now even more. So that's my low. What is your low this week?
Well, one autumnal thing that's on the con list for me is like, have you seen that meme where it's like getting out my fall decor and it's like they're putting out all of the medicine?
Oh, yes.
That like really hit home. So my family has been sick.
Yeah.
And my daughter Grace is like usually pretty tough. And last week she came in the middle of the night and I was like, oh, like don't wake me up. And she was like delirious. I didn't know. I thought she was sleepwalking. And then I went over and I felt her. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're burning up. She was having like I've never witnessed this before, like a delirious fever dream, but she was like really scared. She thought the fan on the ceiling was going to like come off and hit her. And she wasn't really making sense in other ways. But I was like, oh,
that's scary to witness. I have seen just some weird dream stuff with my son, so I'm not as thrown off, but it's weird in the moment.
Totally. So that one really was jarring. And then, you know, she had like a fever of like 102 and change, which was pretty high. So then I got nervous about, I don't know, I was like, is she going to fall down the stairs? She's like in a weird state. So I never let the kids in the bed, but I let her sleep with me.
Yeah.
I slept none. But then she stayed home from school. So kids homesick while trying to work equals nightmare hatched in hell, but powered through. And then I thought we were on the other side of it. And I like tried really hard to not get Cal or I sick. And then Friday night, you know, middle of the night, all of a sudden I hear like, and then all this rumbling. And I was kind of like, you know, doing this to my husband, Chris.
It was Chris. I was going to say, was it Calvin or Chris?
No, Chris got it. So Friday night, he went down for the count. And like, he's kind of a funny, well,
he's a male. He went down like he had a baby. Yeah. You know that joke? It's like, I gave birth and it's compared to your cold, like
100%. So my daughter, who had a, you know, huge fever, delirious, she basically had 24 hours of awful. And then she went back to school the next day. She powered through.
Yeah.
Well, my husband, we're on day 3 here. He's barely making it. And maybe he was sicker than her. Maybe he was.
You could argue. You could argue.
Yeah. And I will say he is lovely. And because he was no help with the kids this weekend whatsoever, I feel like he kind of knew it. But he did, you know, he made me like a wonderful dinner yesterday.
That's nice. He pulled through and made you a dinner after he recovered. Okay.
He slow cooked chicken tikka masala.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Chris is he's a great, I'll even say chef.
I know.
Cook. He's really good in the kitchen. He's a little slow. Watching him make soup is like, we're going to have that tomorrow, I guess. Like, it's hilarious, but he's really good at cooking.
Yeah. He and I are not the same. I'm like very action oriented type A. Let's move. He is, I call it toes out, belly out. He's just like he meanders. He meanders wherever he goes. I cannot watch him like do things. Like watching him take out the trash is enough to like send me. He's so slow. Like you almost can't believe the pace at which the bag comes out. And then maybe it even sits down before it's tied off. Like it's just like, I can't look at it.
It's so good because he matches. He's like your opposite in a great way. Like you need to slow down. You overbook. You do too much. He's like your chill out person, which is why I appreciate it so much. But I have watched when I've been staying with you. I've watched him just in the kitchen or doing things like that, and it does make me giggle.
I know. Courtney, my friend Courtney, was at the soccer game, and I had a Calvin's game at the same time, so we couldn't do it. So anyways, I coordinated with a friend. And Chris went to the game but kind of sat aside. And maybe because he was like sickish, but she like had this awesome goalie save, and she was like, Chris just sat there. He didn't cheer. He like kind of did a nod. And I'm like, yeah.
Like a proud nod is what he
A
did.
proud nod. It's like, yeah, we are not the same. I would have been up and screaming. And I think she was up and screaming. She goes, I embarrassed myself. I was like screaming so loud for your kid. And I look over and her own dad just does a proud nod.
Yeah. Well,
So
I say this to you all the time, but I steal his motto, which is like, do what feels good. He does have good energy.
Yeah.
He's real low energy, like in a good way, like just like low energy sounds negative, but he's like just even, you know, like
low energy is literally like a Donald Trump famous insult. So,
okay. Well, I'll change it to like, he's just even. He just has a good, like even thing about him. And we're so spiky. You know, my anxiety personality is just so much, beep, 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 you know, like too much. And he just kind of had this, like he said it to me a few years ago one time. And I was like, should we go to this thing? And he's like, do what feels good. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, just do what feels good. And I was like, I have never, like, that seems so simple, but I have never thought about it like that. Like, I can choose, like, I can do what just feels good to me.
I know. Well, a little bit of context. We grew up like very Catholic. There were a lot of shoulds. There's,
a lot.
You know, it was ingrained deeply. Like, how should we show up, and what are all the things we should do today? And like, yeah, that's not his way. He's from Santa Cruz. For all of you out there from Santa Cruz or who have visited, like, it's just a different world.
Chill.
It is so chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not in a hurry. No one's in a hurry in Santa Cruz.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah. I know. It's good for me for sure.
Yeah.
But they also, I guess part of Santa Cruz is not being able to get over a fever in 24 hours like my daughter. We're on day 3 here. So
real chill on recovery as well.
Yeah. Very, very slow to recover. So you know how it is when you're single parenting. It was just, you know, it was exhausting.
Yeah, it's brutal. And you go through the whole, like, I can do this. This is no big deal, to the woe is me. Like, oh, this is going to be a long weekend. I've been there.
Yeah. There was a moment where I was just out of gas. And I'm like, who wants to watch Golden Bachelorette with me? I let the kids watch it with me.
Stop it. Did they love it, or what was the vibe?
They were into it. They were totally into it.
At least that one's charming. I can totally see that. If you let them watch like Bachelor in Paradise or something, you're a terrible mother. But Golden Bachelor,
they would love that. I haven't gone that deep, but who knows? Maybe I'll get desperate enough. I'm not trying to say I'm above it. You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. Totally.
Yeah. That was my low. Okay, so let's get into the topic.
Great.
Did you do your low?
Yeah, I did my low. Remember, it was fall.
I thought that was positive as I was thinking back. What was the negative? Oh, there was no fall. You skipped it.
Yeah, the winter skipped straight to winter.
Okay, I heard you. Sorry. I remember thinking cozy fall, all good.
Well, everybody always wonders why I'm so loud. It's because I was the third child and no one ever listens to me. And here we are. You're seeing proof of it.
What?
Good one.
Too easy. Okay. Let's get into the topic, which is, what the hell is our company?
Yeah.
And
what are we doing with our lives?
The umbrella company is called Sage. And underneath it, we have 3 components right now, but maybe there will be more in the future. The first is Sage Parents. The second is Sage Chat. And the third is, as of today, Sage Sisters, the podcast. So Sage Parents is really more of an initiative to support elementary school parents as they navigate technology choices for their kids. So a little bit of background here. Anne and I have a family member who has had a brutal last couple years dealing with bullying and harmful social media. And all of that has created a pretty serious mental health crisis that has affected every single person in our family and scared the living heck out of Anne and I and everyone in our family. And I think between that and our own kids, we have 4 in elementary school and 1 on the way.
Right.
And just sort of like looking around at the status quo of kids in tech, I think we feel deeply that like something is really off right now. And so Sage Parents is just an amalgamation of a year's worth of interviews with parents and kids and experts and research, and like just even for ourselves trying to answer like, how do we do this well?
Right.
And what we felt like was missing was a focus on elementary school. There's a lot out there about middle school and high school, about smartphones and social media. But what was coming out of our interviews was that a lot of the problems, like I'm getting addicted to my device, or my kid's behavior is really bad after they watch too much YouTube, or just like the bullying, the meanness that's happening behind screens. There's like this safety feeling of screens. Anyways, all of that was starting in chats, even in elementary school, even before these kids have smartphones. So we just felt like we got to get it right at the beginning and help parents sort of set themselves up from success from the moment their kids start really chatting with each other and switching their content preferences towards YouTube and video games and all that stuff. So that's what Sage Parents is all about. Did I miss anything?
Helping parents navigate technology choices for their kids, in short. And it's just, you said we interviewed, but we've interviewed over 500 parents, kids, and experts over the last year. And it really was just an underlying, parents are scared of this topic. They don't know how to navigate these issues with their own kids. And technology is not going away. And so everyone is really struggling to figure out not just when to give your kid a phone or not, but when to do screens and what, access they can have even on their iPad or watches. And so we really wanted to come in as a resource to help them with this, because you and I were learning a lot through this. And so Sage Parents is an initiative, but also we've written a very helpful kids and tech guidebook to help guide parents with 10 easy steps on how to navigate the issues going on right now with technology. And one thing I love about the book, there's a lot, but it has how-to videos that really demystifies the parental controls. And, as tech savvy as you are, you can really still miss the loopholes that kids can find to still be able to download certain things. And so the guidebook really does have all of these great how-to videos, and simplified and short. So you don't have to wait 15 minutes into a YouTube video to figure out how to actually set these parental controls. And so, I think it's a great resource that, any parent can use, but it really was written for elementary school parents.
And the last thing I think before we move on is our goal with this was to sort of find that sweet spot between being realistic that tech is in their lives. Heck, our kids have Chromebooks at school. Learning to communicate asynchronously is like super important, and they're going to need that skill in their life. So like not being completely like all screens are horrible, all screen time is horrible.
Right.
When we went out looking, there are influencers that sort of tout like 0 screens, like complete technology abstinence.
Which isn't realistic. It's not realistic.
It wasn't realistic for me, at least, I will say. And again, we're a double working family. I know everyone has different realities of what they're dealing with at home, but like that was not possible for us. So I think what this tries to do is like find that sweet spot that's realistic. And the other thing I'm proud of is that like we're really taking a guilt-free, like positive approach. Like there's a lot of scary shit out there on this topic. And I think partially because scare tactics work, like that type of selling gets people into action or gets people to follow you or buy your book or whatever.
Right.
But I think what we've tried to do is just say, everyone take a deep breath. You're doing good, sweetie.
Yeah.
Like here's some stuff that will help, but also in no part of this are we going to guilt you, shame you, or try to scare the living crap out of you.
Yeah. Every which way, there's mom guilt for different things, and parent guilt, not just mom guilt, because I'm speaking for myself. But it's just, I hate that. It's like we're all trying to do the best we can, and most people really are taking that approach. I'm trying to do the best I can, and there are realistic things that need to happen where, maybe your kids need a little screen time for you to be able to finish dinner because you don't have childcare. And I just think we come at it from a really great approach that makes it seem positive, guilt-free, and realistic.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next part of the Sage umbrella is Sage Chat. So this is our very first technology product. It's
So
currently in
excited
beta.
about this. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. So part of it is like part one of Sage Parents is here's what you can do about it now. And then the next phase is like building technology solutions that actually try to fix it. And one of the things I love is that we structured Sage as a public benefit corp. Like we absolutely at our foundation have to consider the mental health of our users. That is like written into the bylaws of who we are and what we care about. And I genuinely believe to change the world, we have to change incentives. People are not that complicated. They follow incentives. And like most of the technology solutions out there today are driven by ads. Ads create incentive to build the most addictive experiences you can humanly imagine and drive so much overconsumption. Like that is just what is at the core of an ad-based business model. So our Sage Chat is going to be completely free. And the other aspect of it is we're going to let parents supervise their kids' chats in those first few years when the kids still need to be coached. This is a skill that needs to be learned. And right now, when we give our kids unfettered access, it's going off the rails. And we're seeing that all over the place. And that was like so loud and clear in the interviews.
And the parents were saying, 8, 9, 10 is when the kids really started to ask to start chatting with friends from school or on a sport team. And they just didn't feel comfortable. Some of them didn't feel comfortable doing iMessage, and then some of them did, and they just felt like it was kind of a little bit out of their control as to what was happening. And there were so many issues that would arise, whether their kid, felt left out, or whether they, somebody said something to them to hurt their feelings, all the way up to them saying something that they didn't realize could harm them in the future, or something that would hurt somebody else's feelings. And it really is, you've used this before and I love it. It's a ramp to teach kids how to start chatting with their friends, which is a simple skill that will be necessary as they grow. And you don't just hand over keys to a kid to drive. There is a learning curve to figure out how to get behind the wheel and drive. And it's the same thing with being online and chatting. And so it really is kind of a ramp to help them understand how to communicate online appropriately with their friends, and how not to make mistakes for themselves, or just all the things. So that's why I love what Sage Chat will offer parents, because it is a little bit of peace of mind in those early years.
Well, and the thing that stood out to me in our interviews was how many parents are trying to supervise chats already. Again, at the early stage. We're not talking about middle school and high school. That's a different thing, and we can talk about that later. We're talking about elementary school when they're first learning. 71% of parents we interviewed are trying to supervise chats, meaning like most of them just grab the iPad and scroll backwards and sort of like spot check from time to time. But like the intention is there and they want to. It's just so wildly inefficient because these group chats pop off 500 messages on a Tuesday. So it's just like becomes insanely time consuming. And so what we're doing with Sage Chat is we're letting parents supervise from their own phone. So if your kid's on an iPad or chatting from a watch with their friends, you can just have that experience mirrored on your phone so you can see all the chats. But more importantly, because you still don't have time to go through them, we're going to use AI to create really nice recaps and alerts for you. So really, we'll come to you if there's something you really got to look at. But the kids just knowing that you're supervising makes them behave better. The second they feel like nobody's looking is when a lot of the problems are starting. So we do think that's a very important component to this.
Absolutely. So they can view the chats, but really they can also just do it by recaps and alerts, which is great. So it simplifies their process. And the kids have the same experience, even better, because it's enhanced from iMessage, and it's a very fun chat experience for them. Which is all they care about, which is great. And on the other side, we talked about the education piece. What we're going to do is also nudge them on best practices during chats, and not frustrating or annoying like nudges, but just things to kind of help them at the beginning stages, which, if they insult somebody in a way that's not super, crazy of a red flag, it might just say, hey, this might hurt their feelings. Is this something you want to send? And they can ultimately still send it. If it's something super harmful, like we have seen, throughout the interviews and talking to people, like somebody even saying like, go kill yourself or something so dark, that is completely blocked and will never be seen by the child. And
Right.
the kid who was even sending it will be blocked from getting in major trouble for something that dark. And so it really is kind of, there's some things that are gray area that will just help them nudge or give them kind of the think through that. Okay, you still want to make that decision, fine. But then it obviously takes it to the really severe parts where it's just eliminating those issues altogether. And so I love that.
Well, and this is like under the scope to me of like AI for good, but like the new
Right.
AI is allowing us to do such a good job moderating. We're going to
Right.
prevent so much harm from
Uh,
even being said. I'm so excited about that. The nudging you mentioned just on coaching them, but like a lot of these kids talk one-on-one in front of a group and it drives up like a gajillion excess messages that the whole group has to look like. We're going to, hey, looks like you and Ann are chatting one-on-one. Click here to move it. Like there's so much dynamic
right.
nudging that can happen just as they use it. And the last thing I just wanted to say about the user experience is we have a wonderful group of kids that have been giving us a ton of feedback. And the kids prefer the user experience of Snapchat, which is why a lot of it moves over to Snapchat and off of iMessage eventually. So we've tried to take the aspects of Snap, none of the toxic elements, but
Right.
just like the really fun Bitmojis and the custom reactions and things like that. So it should be a really dynamic, fun experience for the kids to chat with approved friends. Parents can make sure their kids are only chatting with approved people and supervise it. So we're hoping that this is a much safer, a much kinder way to let your kids chat with their friends. And you can still chat with them from iMessage and they'll receive it on Sage Chat. So there's, we've tried to really think through all the different use cases, but super excited to get that into the world in a bigger way next year. Right now, we're still in beta working with very early users and getting feedback and adding features and all the things, but that will be ready soon. And then the last piece of it is just Sage Sisters, our podcast, which we are starting today. So we'll be launching weekly podcasts. Now, most of them will not be as business oriented. We wanted to kind of give you an overview today of it, but for the most part, Anna and I will just be catching up, having fun. What's our tagline?
Shooting,
Like catching up on parenting
in life. But it's
Yeah.
really just us talking about parenting in a more fun way. But, some issues we'll talk through and stuff. But I'm excited. Working with a sibling is super awesome. I mean, you and I are super close and have a unique relationship in that we did say this at the beginning. We talk multiple times a day already. And so being able to turn this into like a fun venture and something we truly believe in is so cool. But it's also nice to kind of have this time where we're not just talking about work stuff and we can kind of just like take a beat and enjoy and like share stories with each other about the week for the first time and kind of have that be fun. So
Totally. Fake work. Here we go.
Fake
Into
work.
it. So, Anne, I vote we were going to do a whole section on like how it's going. I vote we punt that to next time and maybe just move to In Matter and talk about what you're obsessed with this week. What's your obsession?
My obsession is, as things are getting colder out, this new body butter that I found. And I actually received this last Christmas. We did like a neighborhood gals get together with everyone in the neighborhood. And you did like what do they call it? Santa exchange or whatever, the white elephant gift. And I received like a heating pad and it was almost like a pampering kit, but like, it was
for old
like
ladies.
for old ladies. Yeah. It was like a heating pad and a lotion and I kind of got it and I was like, oh crap, I'm stuck with it, and I'm not lying. My obsession is not the heating pad, but during the winter, I've been obsessed with this heating pad. I just put it on like my lower back when I'm crawling into bed. Nothing makes me feel older, but I'm loving it. And
I have a heating pad by my bed too. That's where I'm at. Mine's usually for like a hamstring after a tennis match.
But I love it. So anyways, this whole old lady kit has really turned me and I found the lotion from last year, like underneath my like bathroom sink and I pulled it out and I don't know what I was doing for a year. I was sitting on it It's awesome.
What is it?
It's from Trader Joe's. It's a Brazil nut body butter, which is kind of a bizarre name, but it is awesome.
Cool. I'll check it out.
So it's not very expensive, but it's good consistency. My hands, ever since, we joke, ever since COVID, I like the first little wave of COVID, I was washing my hands like a psycho, like most people. And I feel like I've aged my hands like 1,000 times over. So this is just like so good. I love it.
I don't know if it's that or you're like anxiety cleaning. I feel like when you get anxious, you get out the Clorox and you're like,
I do like Phil
do that.
knows there's like an issue with something going on. If I've gotten out those like magic erasers, which I love, but I'll be like, boards. He's like, what in the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm thinking about something.
I love it.
Yeah. What's your obsession?
Okay. Have you heard of this YouTube account called Chicken Shop Date?
Only through you. You were talking to me about this, but I had never heard about this before you.
Okay, I do not want to pretend to be cool. This is not a podcast for like new,
like we know
cutting edge.
Exactly.
No, if it's made its way to me, it's no longer cool. I've fully like embraced that. That's just where I'm at. Yeah. But this, hit my algorithm, came to me through, actually, I think it was one of my podcasts that I listened to, A Thing or Two. But maybe they mentioned it or it was in I don't know. Whatever it was. Chicken Shop Date is this woman, Amelia, who has been doing it for like 10 years. And she interviews famous musicians at a chicken sandwich, like fried chicken place. Somewhere, seems like London. So I'll go with that without having done my full homework here. Okay. But she just had this interview with Andrew Garfield. And they were like flirting the whole time. It's only 10 or 11 minutes. It is a delight.
Not supposed to be like a date. It's just like an interview and they got a little flirty.
Well, she's funny. Like her whole thing is like that kind of deadpan humor where she'll ask a question and then it's like funny how she cuts it, edits it, like adds in like some awkward moments from the shop. Yeah. So that's kind of her bit, but I guess it's been like, so then I kind of went into a rabbit hole and started looking, but like they met a couple years ago on the red carpet. He knew who she was. Like they met again, they exchanged numbers. So like this Chicken Shop Date seems like the culmination of like several flirtations that led to it.
Love that. Okay.
And then they like flirted their way through this 11-minute bit. And I was just like, I don't know, either give this man an Oscar or they have real chemistry here. But it was a treat.
Well, I used to be up on the pop culture. He was dating Emma Stone, I think, or something like that. But is he no longer with somebody? I would love this to be a relationship for them. Like,
there's no way he's with someone after the way he behaved. If so, they need to break up immediately. Come to think of it, this woman is also kind of palish with strawberry blonde hair. He's got a type, maybe.
He's got a type. Okay.
But she's funny. She seems like someone we would be friends with, and he's very charming in it. And again, it's just, if you haven't watched it, go spend 11 minutes of your life with this little giddy treat.
I love stuff like this. I'll absolutely go watch it. I'm here for it.
It's a softball for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a good one. I did not know about it either. So I feel like you're bringing something.
Well, and then I went into a rabbit hole and started watching more of her videos. And like, they're all funny because she's funny. I will say I'm not like so into music where I knew all of these artists or like, I don't even really love an interview format. Like most podcasts, they're like, we're interviewing celebrities. I'm like, snooze. Like, the Q&A format with guests just feels like a little too scripted for me. And like, they all ask the same questions and they all have their answers ready and like,
right.
So usually that format doesn't do it for me, but I watched a few of hers and she's funny enough to kind of keep them going. Plus they're 10 minutes, which is about how much I want to hear celebrities do their Q&A.
I agree.
So I found a couple of them pretty funny.
I love it.
Okay.
All right. Well, speaking of 10 minutes, because you can't watch an interview, we're hitting that 45 minutes, and maybe we should wrap it up so people don't feel the same about our podcast.
Exactly. All right, cool. Well, this was fun. I'm excited to keep it rolling here. And if you'd like to learn more about us, you can check out the website sageparents.org. You can check us out on sagechatforkids.com. You can follow us on Instagram at sageparents, and you can follow us on YouTube at sageparents. We are recording these podcasts over Zoom, and so you can watch the podcast of Ann and I talking into our webcams at each other, if that is your preferred method of podcasting.
I'm enjoying it.
We will probably not wash and dry our hair for all the future ones. This was a little special treat since we're just kicking it off. But all right, fun inaugural podcast, Ian. I will see you on many calls very soon.
Many work calls even after this.
Awesome. All right, Lilas.